Why don't you ride a bike? Love, la la la. Why don't you ride a bike anymore?
Well, it's a little obvious why you don't ride your bike in Wisconsin during the winter. But when springtime comes, that's a whole different story.
Why don't you go for a walk? Why don't you look at the
When I was young, like so many of us, I was constantly riding my bike all around town. I would go out for hours and hours and hours. But as we grow older, we can hardly remember the bikes that we had, let alone think about riding a bike again. Oh, we may remember the first bike we had, or in my case, I remember the brand new bike that my brother gave me, and on one of my first rides, about 25 miles an hour going down the road, I run into the back of a parked car. But that's a whole different story for another video for another time. But then there was the dinner that changed my whole view of biking, or what we call cycling. And that was a dinner I was having with Mike Townsend, a friend of mine, and it was a Saturday night, and I just casually asked him, well, what did you do today? And that's when he told me that he had ridden his bike to Paradise at the foot of Mount Rainier. Now, mind you, Paradise was 80 miles from his home. So what he was telling me is, yeah, I rode my bike 80 miles to Paradise and 80 miles back, 160 miles, not to mention that it was about 5,500 feet higher in elevation. It took him about 6 hours. I couldn't believe what he had just said. And I immediately started imagining what would it be like to ride a bike for 6 hours straight. And I thought back to 1986 when I had an opportunity to go to the World Cycling Championship at the Air Force Academy. As they went around every 20 minutes or so, they'd pass you by in a loop that was going around the road around the Air Force Academy. And I remember thinking at the time, I would never have gone on my own, but it was a good friend of mine who was a cyclist, and he invited me to go. And let me tell you, I was fascinated. It was thrilling to watch them in their tucked mode with the curved handlebars, and they're just going at a pace, just full on, the intensity on their faces. I saw Greg LeMond, who at the time had won the Tour de France. And so that sparked something in me, and all of a sudden I got to thinking about the STP, which was the Seattle to Portland race, 200 miles, 10,000 people that would ride. And I thought, man, I'd like to do that sometime. I think I could do that. So what did I do? I went out and I bought a bike. Now, the picture you see there, that was the day I got my bike, and I was doing a little posing with my cycling shoes and my helmet. But let me tell you, I had the whole outfit. That's the way I roll. I had the padded shorts. I had the jersey with a place to put your snacks in the back. I had the half bike gloves that you wore, and I was ready to go. I was ready to start training. And so I did, and I even pressed through day after day, and I even pressed through almost blowing my knee out because I was too cheap to have my bike fitted, which would have been a good idea. And once I paid the $150 to have my bike fitted, my knee got healed up, then I started the training all over again, day after day after day. And every time I was in that tucked position, riding through town, riding through trails, my imagination kept turning and the wheels kept turning about the day that I would ride in the STP. I was determined that I was going to train hard enough to be able to ride valiantly in the Seattle to Portland, 200 miles, 10,000 people, and I was going to be one of the riders. And I remember going through a little trail in the town of Ording, right by a little coffee shop with my cycling shoes clipped into the pedals so I could maximize the efficiency of my pedaling. And I happened to notice that a friend of mine was sitting outside the coffee shop having a meeting with somebody that I didn't know. Well, I got distracted. I gave him a confident, maybe a little cocky. Hello, look at me, I'm in my cycling outfit. And I made one serious mistake that most cyclists would say they'll only make once or twice. Unfortunately, I made it twice. And that is, as I came to a complete stop, I didn't clip out. My shoes are clipped into the pedal. I slowly, almost as if in slow motion, fell over sideways into a bush that was just outside of the coffee shop. Needless to say, I was humiliated. I was embarrassed, still clipped in. I finally managed to get myself clipped off the bike. And by that time, they were both up trying to assist me to get up. I shook it off as if somehow that's how I got off my bike on a regular basis. Both of us knew that that was not the case. Again, it was humiliating. And as I think of being humiliated, as I think of humility, I think of what Peter said in his first letter. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Well, I ended up finishing the STP, the Seattle to Portland, 200 miles in 2 days. And it was quite an accomplishment. And I must say I was feeling pretty good as my son-in-law, Jason, went along with me. And I was feeling good because I was keeping up pretty good with him. And he was, what I thought at least, was an accomplished cyclist or rider. And until we got about an hour away from Portland, and that's when he took off. And I didn't see him again till we got to the finish line. Humility for Christians is a very good thing.
Why don't you ride a bike? Love, la la la. Why don't you ride a bike anymore? Why don't you ride